Hello everyone. Today in Literature with Prabhat, we are going to talk about Greek philosopher Horace. Horace, whose name was Quintus Horatius Flaccus, was born in 65 BCE and he died in 8 BCE. He was primarily known as a poet, composer of odes, satires, and epistles. He was born the son of a freed slave and got educated at Rome and then in Athens. Horace supported republicans Brutus and Cassius who had assassinated Julius Caesar. He fought with Brutus and Cassius against Caesar's nephew Octavian and Mark Antony at the Battle of Philippi in 42 BCE. The republicans were defeated and another civil war broke out and Octavian became the king. His works include 2 books of satires, 4 books of do's, and 3 books of epistles, the last of which epistle to the Pisos is generally known as Ars Poetica. And the title Ars Poetica is first found in Quintilian. He has written it like an informal letter from an established poet giving an advice to the would-be poets of the wealthy Piso family in Rome. Ars Poetica is written as a poem in 19 BCE, which means before Common Era. He believed that a poem is like a painting, that poetry should teach and delight, as well as the idea that poetry is a craft which requires labor. First important aspect of Ars Poetica is the relation of a writer to his work. The poet should learn the art and not blindly believe in inspiration, which he links with madness. A writer should select his material according to his capacity. He says that when you are writing, choose a subject that matches your powers and test again and again what weight your shoulders will take and what they won't take. He should be realistic in his poetry and examine the model of human life and manners as an informed copyist and to elicit from it a speech that lives. His common resource should be what is known so that others can relate. Whatever you invent for pleasure, let it be near to truth. So anything which is which you can see and nothing which is metaphysical. Every material reality are the things that poets should write about. Another phrase that he used was ut pictura poesis, which meant in Latin as in painting, so is poetry. He means that poetry resembles painting. Both of them can be looked closely or from far, in light or darkness. Some you remember for a long time, but some you forget quickly. What he meant was that poetry needs the same careful interpretation that is reserved for painting. Second important factor is decorum, which he means as a proper relationship between form and content, expression and thought, style and subject matter, diction and character. Form means the language itself, and there is an intrinsic connection between form and content. The content cannot be more important than form in language. It takes a lot of labor to compose good poetry. It needs a lot of training. He answers the question, do good poems come by nature or by art? He says that I don't see what study can do without a rich vein of talent, nor what good can come of untrained genius. So he feels that both training and genius is required to become a great poet. It also requires the poet to find valid criticism of his work from people who are qualified. Once a poem is published, the word becomes public property and part of the language. It will be permissible to destroy what you have not published. The voice once sent forth cannot return. So you have to be careful about what you are writing. You have to be perfect in your form and content, and you have to ask people who know about poetry. And then after that only you can publish your work. Now, poetic unity. It means that the various parts of a poem should be arranged in a proper manner. He opened Ars Poetica with a grotesque image of what the poet should avoid: a human head attached to a horse's neck, covered with a variety of feathers on limbs assembled from any and everywhere. So, he also says that you must mark the manners of each time of life and assign the appropriate part to changing natures and ages. The language used by the child and a man should be different. He also asks the poet to be brief. He says, whatever advice you give, be brief so that the teachable mind can take in your words quickly and retain with them faithfully. So he talks about three things in poetic unity. One, everything should be assembled properly, not like a horse's neck on a human body. And also the fact that you should represent different characters of different ages in the language which is appropriate for those people. And the third point, to be brief, because the attention span of a reader won't be that big. The third important point is the moral and social function of poetry. Poetry should strengthen the conventional wisdom. It should provide a moral examples by using characterization and promote virtue and sensibility, as well as give pleasures. Wisdom is the starting point and source of correct writing. So he says that a man who combines pleasure and usefulness wins every suffrage, delighting the reader and also giving them advice. So there should be a combination of pleasure and usefulness to become a great poet or to become a relevant poet for the society. He rejects art for art's sake, giving more importance to the moral functions of literature. Talking about chorus in an epic or a play, he says that the chorus should always be morally upright and should take the side of the people who are good, and also to pray the god so that people who are not happy should have a good fortune. The fourth important factor that he talks about is the contribution of an audience to the composition of poetry. He views the reader's response as something which is important for the life of poetry. As you find the human face breaking into smiles when others smile, so it weeps when others weep. If you wish me to weep, you must first express suffering yourself. So the actor needs to show his or her suffering in order to impact the audience. Not only then is the audience the ultimate criterion of genuine artistry, but also literature is intrinsically dialogic. The presumed response of a particular audience guides its creation. So audience is quite important in the creation of the poetry. And if a person or an actor wants audience to respond, he should also act from his or her heart. He also talks about degradation that the audience has gone through in the country. Audience for a play was a public, easily counted, not too large, sparing in their ways, pure in their habits, modest in their attitude. But as Rome began to expand her territories and cities encompasses a greater variety of populace, more and more freedoms were granted in meter and music. This enlargement and corruption of the audience dictated directly what is permissible and desirable on stage. So, during the period when all the territories of Rome, all the cities of Rome had a lot of people reading poetry, then there was so much freedom given to the meter and music, and that corrupted the poetry. The fifth important factor is that a poet should be aware of the historical changes. He should either follow tradition or invent a consistent story. For example, Achilles should be represented in all his honors, Medea as proud and someone who cannot be dominated. He should be aware of the changing moods and historical shifts of taste in the audience. When words advance in age, they pass away, and others born but lately, like the young, flourish and thrive. So, a poet should be quite aware about the changes that are happening in historically and the moods of the audiences that is changing. Now, let us answer one of the questions that has been asked from Horace in NET exams. The question goes, what does the phrase "Ut pictura poesis" from Horace's Art of Poetry means? A. Picture above all poetry. B. As in poetry, not in picture. C. Poetry beggars pictorial description. And D. As in poetry, so in painting. Please answer the question in the comment box and wait for my next video, which will be on Longinus, for the answer. Now, thank you everyone. Please like, share and subscribe so that you get the notification for my next video. Thank you.